Hey guys, welcome to this edition of Scott's podcast series. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, Scott's Takes. Click the thumbs up button and check out scottstakes.com for all of your news and greatest and all the revenue streams Mike and I are making on, whether it's e-learning, whether it's making a marketing video for yourself, or obviously checking out my sports biz content on Twitter at ScottFreeman3. I am pleased to have Ben Deach on the pod, a poker vlogger who I've been watching for the last couple of years. I watch him. I watch a lot of the guys, Andrew Neby, Brad Owen, and I'm obviously a recreational poker player myself and have been very integrated in the game. And Ben also is a news reporter for Cola News in Reno, Neveda 8 News. So Ben, welcome to the pod. Glad to have you on, my man.
Hey, thanks for having me, Scott.
For sure. So why don't we dive right into here to poker first? It seems like over the last 3 to 4 years, a lot of you guys have come on vlogging your poker sessions, which I think has been extremely helpful for recreational players such as myself to obviously learn and be honest and not just show your wins, but show your losses also. I think it's been very impactful for viewers for such as myself to watch, and obviously thousands of others. What made you start vlogging poker hands?
Well, it was really a combination of the two things that I knew how to do: play poker and edit video. And it seemed kind of like the perfect fit for me because I'd spent the last several years editing video every single day for Channel 8 here in Reno, putting together stories for the local news. And I'd spent the previous decade or so playing cash game poker. And yeah, I saw several of the first vloggers, namely Andrew Neby and the Trooper, who you can't really classify as a poker vlogger, but he at least was on there making these videos. I saw these guys and I felt that I could basically do the same thing. And sure enough, it was kind of able to work out. Whereas, I think people just enjoy kind of going along for the ride with you. It's like, yes, they know they can learn a little bit, but for the most part, they like seeing the ups and downs and just kind of tagging along for your journey. And I know when I watched some of Andrew Neby's first vlogs and some other one, that was the way I felt. And I was, happy to see that I could just kind of be the next guy to jump in and showcase it from a little bit different side. Obviously, playing in Reno is not the same as playing in Vegas. It has some advantages, some disadvantages. But I figured it'd be fun giving people a look at it. And the more I've been able to do it, the more I've been able to show. And I've always had the full support of the Peppermill in Reno, the only place you can really go to play $5 blind poker in Reno. The other places just have really small games. So the fact that they've been behind me has been great. And it kind of has a home game feel, I think, in a lot of spots because you're playing against a lot of the same people. But I think for the most part, that's been kind of a fun thing to show.
For sure. And I'm curious too, and obviously follow your vlogs and the others too. It seemed like 3-4 years ago, many casinos were against vloggers such as yourself filming at the casino. Was Peppermill kind of always for it, or did you battle some issues with casino management to be able to film the vlogs?
Amazingly, I've never been told that I cannot film in any casino, actually. I think I tried to record one on-camera spot inside, not even in the poker room, but in the lobby of the Gardens Casino in LA, and security jumped on me for that. But other than that, I've never had an issue. And it's been great. And the Peppermill, not only have I not had an issue, they've supported it. At first, I just started doing it. I didn't even tell them I was doing it. And they started watching some of the videos and clearly like, this is pretty good. And they've realized that a lot of people have come in as a result of the vlog. So they're like, okay, this isn't too bad. So it's been almost a surprise because, if you had asked me that question right when I started doing the vlog in March of 2018, I would have thought, well, at some point I'm going to be hassled about this and people are going to complain and all, but it just hasn't happened. And I think part of it's because they realize that I don't show people on there unless they tell me that I can. And, for the most part, it's just, you just see my cards and my chips and how I play. And, what's the harm in that? So it has been easier than I actually would have expected back when I launched this blog with regards to that.
That's fantastic. And I know folks counterparts such as Reno and Andrew Nemi have run into issues through the years. Obviously, they travel kind of more through casinos all around the country. But it's just great to see the whole community coming together and embracing poker in a nutshell. Diving really into more of poker, obviously, there's like 30,000 different winning hands. It seems like the more you study, the more analytical the game has really become over the last 2 to 3 years, whether it's battles between Doug Polk and Negreanu and heads up matches. Like, do you use solvers while you're playing, or do you just kind of play by gut instinct?
It's been a topic that I've wanted to get more into, but never have. And talking to other players who are as well versed, if not more so, in the game than I am, they seem to agree that solver work really isn't going to do all that much in the games that I play in. It's not until you get to the higher levels playing against the better players that those are going to help. Now, they're probably not going to hurt, and I would still like to get into them at some point, though I have not done it. I've been more focused on the training stuff with regards to different live poker training sites that I've been on that focus more on other aspects of it than the actual solver part. But there's no question that's going to help if you're able to do it. But when you're playing against, when you're playing against the guys I play against, it's not gonna do a ton. And that's the most important thing about playing in live poker games is who you're playing against. And I still think back to 2009, my first full year playing, and how stupid I was, because during that year, all I ever thought about was, okay, my success as a poker player is going to be dependent on how good I am and how good I am alone. I just have to be good. And if I'm good, if I work hard, I'm going to win. It wasn't until like a year after that where I realized, it's kind of important who you play against. And once that set in, and obviously you realize that's kind of the most important thing is who you're against. I mean, if you're the ninth best player in the world, as they say, and you have the 8 guys that are better than you in the same game, well, you're going to get crushed. Whereas you can be not that good of a player overall. You can be like a Dan Bilzerian type, who's clearly not a very good poker player, but he is good at getting into good games and at least claims that he's able to win. So you never really know. But right. That was obviously the most important part, is realizing who to focus on, who to play the hands against. Once I got that down, it's been great for me ever since. And that 2009 year was still the only losing year that I've ever had as a poker player.
Very impressive. So obviously you have a major advantage playing at Peppermill. The players who you're up against, as it's a very local crowd at Peppermill in Reno, Nevada. What are like some instincts that somebody in that group might be, and you don't have to share this, by the way, in case your fellow players are watching, I totally get it, but are bluffing, that are going too much in? What are some telltale signs that when somebody bluffs, that that they're full of shit, and that you're obviously calling them, raising them, etc.?
Well, certainly that's the goal, is to be able to figure that out. And the first thing I'll say is I've definitely lost more money over the years thinking people were bluffing when they weren't.
Interesting.
As opposed to money that I've made being able to pick off bluffs. But certainly I've been able to do a fair amount of it. And it really just comes down to observing them throughout the day, and then more so just throughout the years. When you play enough against certain guys over the years, you can realize that when they bet big on the river, when they bet double the size of the pot on the river, as opposed to betting a quarter of the pot, right, that's going to be a tell in some regard. Some players it's one way, and some players it's the other. But that is going to be the biggest type of factors. Of course, when non-poker players ask you about this, they always think that you're going to tell them something like, okay, when he grabbed his ear, that means he's bluffing. And those kind of physical tells, I mean, they basically just don't exist. And I'm sure that there maybe some people could point to some examples where they do, but for the most part, that's something that only goes in the movies. It's really not a thing at all. You have to focus on betting patterns and how many hands they're playing to be able to make those kind of determinations. But certainly some of my biggest regrets over the years have just been paying too many people off on the river, because the fact of the matter is people just don't bluff all that much. There's a small amount of people that disproportionately bluff, And
Right.
they do, and those are the guys you should just be paying off all the time. But for the most part, the general player is risk averse, and if they're going to bluff, they're going to make a move on the flop when they have flush equity or straight equity or things like that. They're not just going to wait till they get to the river and have nothing and bet big. And there's been a lot of times where I've been able to realize, okay, this player either has a full house or they have nothing.
Right.
And I've so often been right on that realization, and I call. The problem is they just always have the full house. Sure. And I've lost a lot of money over the years doing this to a lot of guys. And I think one of the big reasons why I've been able to have success more so than I've had back in the 2010, 2011, 2012 days in recent years is that I've just gotten away from more hands on the river against the unknown opponents that are in the games.
No, fantastic feedback too. And right there to you. It seems like anytime I get colored, it's either boat over boat, trip over full house, etc., flush over flush. I have a king high flush. Somebody else has the ace high flush. That's the life of my poker game through the years. What do you think is like? Obviously, you're playing full time. You're vlogging it. Obviously the waves are massive. I mean, you're gonna have some winning sessions. You're gonna have some losing sessions. How do you keep like an even kill attitude to come back after you might have lost like $2,000 the next day?
Well, I'm not going to lie to you. Back in 2010, those days where you did lose that much were really hard for me to deal with. And, some really dark days during those years dealing with them and thinking about it and realizing how much time it took me to win all that money and how quickly I lost it. But I just always had enough confidence in myself, telling myself that, well, I know I'm better than these guys. I know I can win money here. But it took several years to actually start doing that. Now it's much easier. I just had a $7,000 downswing, as I talked about on the vlog, in the month of March for several different reasons. But it really didn't hurt all that much at all. I knew I'd get the money back, and I already have now. But it's just a case of, to kind of throw in a sports cliche, trusting in the process, knowing that over the long term, you're going to win if you keep playing the same way. The important part is to not play differently during the downswing. And that actually did happen to me in a couple spots where it's like, okay, I'm trying to take a couple lines that the goal of them is to not lose money in this hand. And sure enough, what does that result in? Losing more money in the hand. So you just want to keep playing the same way, whether you're winning or losing. And for me, that's been a pretty steady strategy that I developed over the years. And just tell yourself that you're going to get it back. I have not had a problem with separating the money from my actual money from my day job in terms of thinking of it as, okay, man, I would have to work a month of shifts to get back the money I lost in the last 2 days. Yes, that's happened a number of times. Sure. It's just never bothered me. Because it's not like I think about it on the other side either. It's not like when I win 2,000 in a day, it's like, oh, well, that just takes care of 2 weeks of work. And I've just never thought of it that way either. It's just been a case of little scores over a long period of time. And that's the advantage to cash game poker, as opposed to, always seeking out the big score. I've used the analogy before where, guys like me, we have success as poker players because we just keep getting on base. We just keep hitting singles. Maybe I've never homered. I've never had a score. I've never had a $10,000 score in my life, but that's okay because I just keep chipping away with these small scores over and over again and not having the big losses either. So that's, obviously is something that you can determine what you want. I mean, some guys, they swing bigger and sometimes they hit. Most of the time they don't. So you got to look at it that way, but I'm content just keeping with these small wins, winning a little at a time and moving on from there.
For sure. And definitely those singles, I think what's affected me the most, I've been trying to hit those home runs throughout my tenure. When I seem to go for the singles, I play a lot better though. When I play tight, they say tight is right sometimes playing in poker.
So what did you do in terms of swinging for the fences?
Oh, when I started playing too, about a decade ago, I mean, it was me just being bluffing lunatic, just like going after some coolers and just getting nailed. And I had some early success bluffing big pots on the river. Then folks would catch on when I was playing in actually Toledo, Ohio at the time at the Peppermill Casino there when I was living in Toledo. And I just learned the hard way. But as I kind of engaged as a recreational player over the last decade, kind of playing more tight, is right, hitting those singles, really having, I would say, 7 out of 10 winning sessions, batting about 70%, I would say, over the last 3 years or so. And I'm not a big limit player. I mean, I play 1-3. Most I've gone is 2-5. So I'm very low wage. I'm not on your level yet at 5-10 or whatever Peppermill is at right now. But I've just learned playing tight is right. It's not just about being aggressive and trying to play like a lunatic. And there's a lot of strategy that goes into poker. And if you play like a lunatic, you're going to get burned most of the time.
Yeah, by the way, shout out to Toledo, Ohio, and Ohio in general. No one ever talks about Ohio as terms of great place to play poker. They always talk about LA, Vegas, Texas, maybe Florida. But Ohio is fantastic for poker. I mean, I played in Cincinnati one time at what is now the Hard Rock. That's one of the great places that I've ever played poker at, too. And I'm sure I haven't played in Cleveland or Toledo, but I'm sure that the entire state is just a great place for poker. And it seems to never get mentioned.
Yeah, Jack Cleveland here in Cleveland, Ryan, obviously Hollywood, Toledo, really fantastic rooms. And obviously, I mean, here at Jack Cleveland, I mean, you have 20 games going on, like basically like the scene at Peppermill. So you have a lot of local guys. So I would compare Jack Cleveland or like Hard Rock Cincy to like Peppermill in Nevada, where you have 90% of the crowd locals, where you can play against every single time you go up there. So
yeah, except those are much bigger cities and they have a lot more players. So that's a great spot.
It is. And it's the only game in town too. So it's fantastic spot to play. So definitely check out Jack Cleveland. Hit me up. We'll grab some drinks, play some poker. Jack Cleveland, if you're ever in Ohio. And a couple more questions before we let you go, Ben. Here's some, I'm the home of hot takes and my social media vlogs outside of poker. What is your most favorite hand and least favorite hand in Texas Hold'em?
Well, my most favorite hand is definitely pocket eights, and for really the most simple reason of the fact that I have run so good with that hand over the years. It's unbelievable. I mean, it's just ridiculous, the proportion of time that I hit a set with that hand as opposed to any other pocket pair. And everyone knows it too. Like everyone knows me for that hand in the game and in the Peppermill. So it's just kind of funny how that's worked out. And there's absolutely no question that my least favorite hand is ace king at this point. I mean, I cannot, it seems like I can't do anything right with ace king. And I'm actually in the process of kind of overhauling what I'm going to be doing with it, because the simple strategy of getting dealt ace king, having someone open, 3-betting the hand, and then getting called, and then playing the hand from there, it never works out the way you want it to work out, because what is the truth about ace king? That everybody puts you on ace king. So they're always going to play their hand perfectly against, unless maybe they have ace king, or I mean ace queen or ace jack, and they hit as well. If that doesn't happen, you're getting all the pocket pairs to fold unless they hit sets, and you're getting draws to carry on if they get a reasonable price, and then try to win a big pot off of you, and you're just never getting action from too many other hands either. And a lot of times when you don't hit your ace or a king, you're just getting called down by pocket pairs. It just feels like the worst case scenario is always taking place. Now, what's funny is, and I've talked about I can't get over how bad I run with ace king. I've bitched about this or whatever the case is. But what's funny is, I think that's also a big part of the reason why I've had a good couple, really good several last couple of years, because all the times where I've had pocket aces and pocket kings and pocket queens and sets and things, and I've gotten max value out of those hands, I think a lot of the time people were putting me on ace king, and they were wrong.
No kidding.
So it's easy to overlook that side of it. Like you can focus on how bad you run with a given hand, but think about the flip side, that I'm getting a lot of action off other hands, because they just assumed that if I 3-bet a hand pre-flop, it was going to be ace king, and then I was going to continue on. It's just funny how that works out. But yeah, there's just no question that playing ace king in these live games, I can't speak to the online games. I can't. I have not played online in several years now. But I mean, I know Kevin Martin, he's always on there preaching about the church of ace king. Ace king is so great. He always has this whole thing. But yes, and that might be true in those kind of games, because they're much more aggressive and people are playing a lot more hands. But it's just not the case in these live games. So yeah, I'm in the process of revamping how I play ace king, because it just has not worked out for me in the way it's going.
Yeah, Ace King has limited me probably out of 5 tournaments all in through the years in the tournament side of it. Are you playing tournaments too? You mostly all cash.
I haven't played a tournament since I think 2018, and I have not played a World Series of Poker tournament since 2016. I want to say that it was. I've played about 5 or so of those down there, never to any avail. I think I hold the title of best poker player to have never cashed in a multi-table tournament, and I kind of like that title. Like, I'm going to hang on to it. You talk about best to never win a bracelet. Yeah, but who's the best never to cash? So I'm trying to hang on to that. Part of me would like to get more into them, if for no other reason, because it could potentially be a good way to grow the vlog. But at this point, I don't have any plans on it because I don't have the time. That's what's so great about cash game poker is I can make my own hours.
Right.
I just don't have the time necessary to devote to these tournaments. They're always on the weekends. I'm working the weekends, and if they are on the days I'm off, they run long hours or whatever the case is. So that's the part of it that I don't like. Also, just even if I did have the time, you got to think of the opportunity cost. It's like everyone just thinks the buy-in, but think about the money that you're not making in playing in your regular game when you're buying into these tournaments. Now, it's one thing if you just enjoy playing them and you want to take a shot, and that's fine. I have no problem with that. But the fact of the matter is there's just more skill involved in cash game poker because you're going to the river every time, as opposed to when there's all these all-ins pre-flop in tournaments. The main event, the World Series of Poker, notwithstanding, when you have 2-hour levels, for the most part, most tournaments have these shallow structures, and you're forced to just shove it all in and let it go from there. And to me, that's just not the way it should be in poker. So that's another reason that's kind of pushed me away from the tournament scene the last couple of years.
Definitely makes sense. And really, before we let you go, last question, I always end these pods with kind of your passions, whether it's outside of poker, outside of the news station that you want to tell to the viewers, and obviously plug any events you have. And obviously Mike will put up your YouTube channel, so make sure you subscribe to Ben Deach's YouTube that provides amazing content and all his poker vlogs throughout the year on his YouTube channel. So Mike will plug that. And anything you want to say to end the pod?
Well, certainly we got a trip to Austin, Texas coming up at the end of April, the 26th, 27th, and 28th at 52 Social. So if anyone's in the area wants to stop on by, it'd be great to talk to. We got a meetup game with a bunch of other bloggers that's going to be scheduled for the 27th of that month. So that'll be fun. I have not played poker in Texas before, and I'm very much looking forward to it. I've heard a lot of good things. So that's the next step. And I'm going to be probably heading to Vegas in mid-May to play some cash games down there and shoot a couple of vlogs too. I'm going to guess, and I could be wrong on this, but I'm going to guess somewhere in the May 17th range for anyone that's watching this in Vegas. Might see me around the Wynn, might see me around Resorts World, the 2 rooms that I'll probably play at the most when I'm down there as well. So it's always fun to get out of Reno. I haven't been able to do enough of that of late, but looking forward to doing that throughout the next couple of months.
Fantastic. So definitely follow Ben. Check him out in Texas, Vegas, Reno. Check him out on the news. And Ben, thanks again for coming on. We'll definitely keep in touch, my man. Great talking with you.
Thanks, Scott. Really appreciate it.
Have a great day, everyone, and stay lean and quick.